Hello! I love reading my stuff out loud, so this is probably going to happen all the time because I get such a kick out of it. Anyway, I'm going to be reading a scene from chapter 2 in the House of Elah, and I hope you enjoy it because I just think it's really interesting. Anyway, alright. Hillashand and Marcus filed into the arena with 1,000 others. The air smelled heavily of scented oil and incense. Hillashand grimaced and wondered what other smells Earthis Bolair was so intent on concealing. Hacked into the side of the mountain beneath the town, the arena was an open-air building with rows of tiered seating surrounding a yawning pit in the center. The pit was wide enough to be visible from every seat in the building, yet deep enough to prevent any of the gamers' pets from escaping. From what Hillashand had been able to gather, Earthis Bolair was particularly fond of several varieties of large cats, including the Selkis, a horned lion that lived on the southern plains. They chose seats near the main door in preparation for their departure. The crowd immediately began shouting for the creature they had come to see. The roar of voices filled the evening. Hillashand drew near boredom, waiting for the large iron doors at the opposite side of the ring to open. The place felt dirty to him, as if he had entered an old tomb. He sensed that something unfriendly lived here, hidden on the other side of the laughter. He had been to similar places before, in Paxa and Ruthane many years ago. They all felt the same. The sky began to grow dark. The stars came out, and thousands of lamps lit up the stands. The arena floor revealed itself clearly, despite the retreating light of day and the appearance of the half-moon in the eastern sky. Finally, a trumpet blew. The crowd screamed until the trumpet blew again, and the doors began to grind open. The dragon appeared to be young. It was significantly smaller than the subjects of the dozen or so stories Hillashand had heard. This one was similar in size to a draft horse. It skittered out of the doors and filled the pit with fire and smoke as the crowd gave in to its craze even louder. Earthis Bolair had apparently clipped the creature's wings, for it nearly beat itself senseless in its wild flapping, but was unable to rise off the ground. It shrieked again and again. Hillashand's ears began to ring. As the smoke cleared, he leaned forward and studied the creature, rather fascinated. It was a beautiful but ferocious thing, full of mystery and a sense of danger that he could almost tangibly feel. The scales were gray and opaque, the wings a shade of green similar to the underbelly of a crassa leaf. Flat blades protruded from the back of its head all the way down the tail. The man next to Hillashand jumped to his feet and shouted, "Fighter!" The rest of the crowd joined in. "Send in the fighter! We want the fighter!" Hillashand dropped his hand on Marcus's shoulder. They needed to go. As they stood up, the doors opened again, and a man was shoved into the arena. He stumbled forward and caught his balance as the doors thundered shut behind him. He wore a suit of armor that did not fit him. The helmet covered his entire face and hair, and only a wide strip of his throat was visible. It was impossible to tell his nationality. Hillashand looked for the man's weapon and paused as he realized the fighter did not carry one. Full armor, without a weapon. What was this? They sent a man without a weapon into the ring against a dragon. The beast was young, yes, but it appeared fully capable of making short work of this fight. Seeing the fighter, the dragon roared. The floor beneath Hillashand's feet trembled. The crowd screamed as the creature turned on the man. Hillashand's grip tightened on Marcus's shoulder. "Let's go," he began, and tried to draw his eyes away from the despicable scene about to be played out before him. His command faded as the fighter started running. Not away from the dragon, but toward it. The creature released a fiery blaze, and the man slid away from it, spinning out of reach as he continued his run. The dragon directed its flame. It connected briefly with the armor that was too big, charring it, but the fighter spun again, and the brunt of the force carried beyond him. Coming up to the creature, he slammed his metal-gloved fist into its snout. The crowd screamed as the dragon reeled back, shaking its head from side to side. "Did you see that? Did you see that?" the man beside Hillashand hollered at his companions. "He struck a dragon with his fist." "Sit down," someone commanded behind Hillashand, and a moment later, rough hands helped him and Marcus find their seats again. Grabbing the two of the flat horns that extended from the back of the creature's neck, the fighter used his weight to jerk the neck down. In a fluid motion, he slammed the head to the ground and dropped his full weight on top of it, his knee to the neck. He reached for his helmet, but before he could complete the movement, the dragon screamed and shoved him away with clawed hands. The man landed on the hard-packed dirt several paces away. He staggered to his feet again, and the crowd yelled encouragement to him, to the man fighting a dragon without a weapon. He removed his helmet. They screamed louder. The same dance was followed a second time. The dragon attempted to incinerate him. The man avoided the fire as best he could, swerving as he ran. As the dragon pulled in breath to bellow again, the man dove beneath the creature's head, rolled up to his feet, and connected his helmet against the wide jaw, his full momentum behind his swing. The metallic thud could be heard through the entire stadium, despite the crowd. The dragon was not as swift to respond this time as the man again forced its head to the ground. He dropped his weight on top of the neck, holding it down, and bashed the creature's head in until dark blood flowed. The crowd cheered his success. The man beside Hilishan kept repeating, "Did you see that? Did you see that?" The arena fell silent as the man ignored them all, continuing his work. He shifted position on the dragon's neck and pried open its mouth, bracing himself with a knee to the ground. He strained with the helmet in his hands. "What is he doing?" Marcus asked, leaning to the side, trying to see. The fighter had his back to them. They could not see his face and could barely see his task. The dragon's claws had ripped open the back of his armor. He was bleeding extensively, but he didn't seem to notice. His arms moved in rhythmic motions, powerful, purposeful. He looked like a smithy at work over his anvil. A sharp sound grated through the stands from the arena floor. Adjusting his position, he pulled upward with all his strength, forcing something to bend in his grip. When he stood again, he held a weapon in each hand. He had slit the helmet into 2 pieces. The edges were thin, and Hilishan wagered they were sharp. "Resourceful fellow," he murmured, his heart sprinting behind his ribs. He had no desire to sit here and watch the continuation of the story, yet he could not make himself move. What sort of man was capable of defending himself in such a fashion? He had smoothly removed one impossibility and had now prepared himself for the second. He faced the doors in a crouch, hands extended to either side, ready for whatever came for him. His strength would not be able to sustain him for much longer. The dragon had shredded his back with its claws. "Is it not over?" Marcus asked stiffly. They had both seen more than they had come to see. It needed to be over. "Doubtful," Hilishan replied. Feeling the rush of the battle and the crowd, he silently cursed his choices this evening. Erthus Belair knew what he had here with his arena on the mountain. Hilishan had to stay and see this. He had to know if the man survived. The iron doors began to open again. The crowd screamed. Hilishan looked at the fighter standing alone, the slain dragon beside him. "Live," he commanded. And that's the end of the scene. I love that scene. I just think it's so much fun. Anyway, I'll talk to you guys soon.